So until December 31st, you could get both of these reverb plugins 100% free. After that, I'm not sure what the price goes up to, but from what I'm hearing, these are definitely really high quality reverbs. In fact, I can't really think of any reverbs that sound like this. I'm sure they do exist somewhere. Depending on the price after December 31st, you might still want to pick these up. So to test these out, I just loaded up one of the stock pianos inside of FL Studio. I chose the Close Grand because it sounds really intimate and I feel like that will sound really good adding some reverb to it. So I'm actually going to turn this reverb effect off. I was getting a little too much lag, so I went ahead and just laid the piano down myself without the screen recording. Definitely not perfect, you can see it's offbeat, but that will be plenty to listen to what these reverbs sound like. So we're going to start with this Raum Reverb. So now it's turned on with the default settings. Let's just take a listen. So just with the default settings, I feel like this is a really nice reverb to mess around with. But there's a setting in particular that I noticed on here that is very unique to this reverb, and it's this freeze setting. I know that there are some other reverbs out there that do this, but the fact that this one's free for now, I would definitely take advantage of this because this is a very unique feature. Let's listen to what it does and then I'll explain it to you. So what you're hearing is the reverb is freezing in its place and it's resampling the reverb itself and then turning that into a drone pad, and it just creates a lot of atmosphere. So if you're into things like EDM, ambient music, even some lo-fi, this would be a great tool to just add to your arsenal in terms of just creating a nice lush background. So I would definitely add this feature to your list of automations inside of your mix. Sort of like what we did here where we accented some of these chords at the beginning or at the end. Definitely play around with the automation of this because I feel like it really makes a unique sound that you could add into your mix. But let's take a look at some of these presets. We have a creative bank, small, medium, large, and echoes. Let's start with the creative bank. Backwash grains. It almost does sound like there's some sort of granular synthesis going on in the background there. And I think that's coming from this modulation. I'm also noticing this middle section where it says cosmic. So there's different algorithms inside of this reverb. So we have grounded, airy, and cosmic. So you can see here the grounded algorithm has the freeze feature, so does the airy, but for the cosmic, that's where it gets into that granular type of synthesis, or feedback I should say. With these grounded and airy algorithms, you can see that this knob right here switches over to the damp, while cosmic switches over to rate, and that's where we're hearing those grains. So I'm just gonna flip through these real quick for you guys without talking. Definitely a unique reverb. So now let's check out this Rev Plate from Arturia. This one is also free for a limited time, but let me correct myself. This Raum Reverb is available until January 31st, but this Arturia reverb is only available until December 31st. So this one's going away pretty quick. It's sort of hilarious looking at the Arturia website and looking at the original physical hardware of this reverb. You can see the size of it. It's the size of a room. And here's another full picture of it right here. And according to their site, it says that this was the world's first plate reverb. Brighter and more versatile than most spring reverbs, and echo chambers. The plate reverb became a part of every top studio's arsenal, which is crazy to think because they must have had an entire room or a section of a room totally dedicated to just their reverb unit. It goes on to say that it cost as much as a house and it was weighing more than 4 people. So we've come a long way having just this little GUI on our screen where we can access this sound. But just like the Raum Reverb, let's just take a listen to what it sounds like with its default settings. So yeah, you could tell that this is yet another really lush reverb sound. But one of the things that I found interesting when I was going through the manual, this drive knob actually saturates the sound before it goes into the reverb. And that's whether the reverb is on or off. So let's turn this all the way to dry and let's increase the drive and we'll get more saturation. So without it, and then with it, just a slight crunch, a little bit of analog feel. Let's blend that back in with the reverb. They also have this width knob, and I'm noticing that when you back it off just a little bit, it actually sounds better than 100%, so that's something that I recommend. But definitely experiment with that. I'm sure in some cases at 100% that would work out well. But this reverb has 3 different models. So right here in the middle, we have the classic. On the left, we have punchy. And on the right, it's actually my favorite. It's called modern. And it just sounds even more lush than the other 2. So that's definitely something to play around with. Something that I noticed with the decay time, I never would have thought that having specific decay times versus having a free-flowing knob that you can turn, that I would actually like this better. It's just a lot easier to decide what your decay time should be because the differences between these increments are really obvious versus just turning your knob, because I usually find myself getting really specific with my decay times. There's actually mathematical equations out there that you should be using or could be using in your mixes to determine how long your decay time should be depending on the BPM of your track, but I always just go by ear. I'm finding myself really appreciating just having specific settings that you just go back and forth on. And then they have the normal pre-delay and high-pass filter. You might notice that when you get the plugin, it starts out like this. You just use this drop-down menu to access these extra settings. They also have a post equalizer, which EQs everything afterwards. But another cool feature is this modulation because it adds a little bit of chorus. So you could hear that chorusy effect that comes in when it's set to pre versus post. Pre just means it's coming before the reverb. Post just means after the reverb. When you put it on post reverb, it's adding chorus to the overall sound. But with the presetting, you're adding that chorus to the actual signal first, and then that's getting reverberated. So I'm finding myself appreciating the pre-setting more than the post setting. But here's what the post setting sounds like. I'm I'm just finding that when you do it post, it just sounds a lot more wishy-washy versus on the pre, it sounds more realistic. And that's what I usually go for with these type of reverbs. That's also something that I recommend with really any type of reverb. Adding chorus to your reverb usually sounds kind of weird. So according to YouTube, the next video you should watch is here on your left. And if you like this video, you should definitely check out the video on your right as well. I make new videos every week, so remember to turn on notifications so that you are notified every time I drop a new video. Until then, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.